Hi everyone, welcome to episode 48 of A Fern Between Us.
We are two of the four owners of Vivac Winery. I'm Jesse.
I'm Michelle, and we have a fun episode today.
We're here to party. Party.
We are actually tasting the Rosé of Sangiovese, but two back-to-back vintages. This came about by a conversation. I am going to be teaching a huge class in the fall, if everything goes as planned with COVID and pandemic and all of those things.
I think we might get lucky, hopefully.
I know, it was canceled last year, so this year it's on again. And I want to make sure that I bring the rosé that I really want to show from Vivac. So the conversation came up, the 2019 or the 2020, and so we're tasting them today with you guys, which is super fun. I don't know when the 2020 is actually going to be available to all of you guys.
Not for a while yet, which is great. You know, you like to bottle, and then if you can, wait 6 months, and then release it to the public, and then it'll be something like that. 6 months, you know, late summer, sometime in there. We'll have. Depends on how much rosé you guys buy.
Yeah, and I mean, these rosés are so fantastic. The Rosé of Sangiovese, the Rosé of Cabernet are so good, and they've just been crushing it at international wine competitions, and so it's pretty fun as a geeky side note to how this came about.
Do you like rosé?
A little bit.
How little?
Tap me up.
Right? No, I love rosé. Rosé is one of my favorite wines. Wine styles. That's my favorite. Most exciting to me, hands down. I love rosés.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. Easy pairing. Yep. Always goes with your mood. It goes with your season. They talk about rosé season, but all year is rosé season. Mm-hmm. But anyway, all right, so real quick, let's check in. What's new in your life? What's new at the winery? Any news to share? Or
today we dug a trench to put in the irrigation for the Pinot Meunier planting that'll happen here in a couple months.
Exciting.
So we got the PVC stuff in. We still need to bury the trench, but I've got sand in my hair as we speak. It was blowing, you know. Lots of fun out in the vineyard. Mm-hmm. It's so romantic. So romantic. Such a romantic lifestyle.
Right? I know.
We're like, un poco más viento, por favor. You know, more wind, please. That'd be great. Nice. Never more wind. You never want more wind.
Right? I felt like I had stuff that I wanted to share, and now I can't remember what's even happened since last week. So, sorry.
Yeah. So you're going to get into the wine or what? Is that what you're thinking? I don't know how this goes. You tell me.
So in a couple of weeks, he's going to be on his own doing this. So that should be really entertaining.
In that case, I'll make the decision. I'll just say, on to the next thing. But I said on to the next thing, and you're like, you gave me a look, so you decide.
Well, I was contemplating if I had anything to share there, guy. But, you know, whatever. What do you want to tell us, man? So yes, 2019 versus 2020, you can see that the color is identical almost. I mean, my gosh.
Pretty similar. The new one has slight amount of more reds, maybe, really but it's
Where's my white piece of paper?
It's also going to dissipate over time. You'll lose the reds, you'll gain a little bit of orange, which, you know, means it's gaining a little brown, which is a little bit of oxidation over time. You'll lose some of the redder colors, which both bleach out and then get overtaken by so they do lighten up and then turn a little brown or a little orange or whatever you want to call it. And usually both of these are showing such great color. Sangiovese in general does not have as much color as our like the Cabernets come in with such purple, and any of these wines like Pinot Noir or Sangiovese that are already kind of brick colored, they don't have the purples in them as much. Yeah, those tend to fade quicker. Yeah, and rosés are so susceptible to age-related color issues. Don't worry about color on a rosé ever. just assume that it's how it should be, because the color varies, not only vintage to vintage, but like just over time, any one vintage varies in color. These happen to be miraculously, it's hard to tell. Like for me, it's hard to tell the difference in the color, but
that is true.
That's rare.
Yeah.
That after a year you can't tell the color very well. Just as a tip.
Well, I stop giving people the tip.
Just the tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels.
So I do think that you should drink the wine, enjoy the wine, and often, if a little discoloration is apparent, that doesn't mean that necessarily there's a flaw in the wine or anything like that, especially when we're talking about rosés. But at competitions, color really is important, and you will be docked points.
Yeah.
If it's too light, if it's way too orange or way too dark. So there is another aspect of that where the wine professionals, especially wine buyers, wine shop owners, that you present something or at a restaurant and the wine tastes great, but if it's not the right color, they will not buy it.
Right. And that is true even, for you as the buyer, you're not going to automatically be drawn to something that isn't luscious looking or whatever, right? And too dark is an issue. All right, so a couple things about the color. If it's super light, it's going to act more. It's going to taste more like a white. If it's super dark, it's going to edge into astringency and some of those things. It's a sign of too much or more extraction out of the skins. I can't say too much or less because that's up to the individual, right?
That's an excellent distinguishing factor. Yeah.
But to me, I like it on the lighter side for sure, on the from medium to lighter. And I would put this as a just under lighter, our Cabernet, because it's got so much color this year.
It's such a great color, though.
It really tastes great. Last year, so the current vintage that we're selling right now is a 2019, and the color on that was amazing. The 2020 just came out of the press darker than that, and so I was super worried that it was going to be too astringent, too much extraction. On the flavor, it does not come across that way, but for the color, to me, it's darker than I would like it. So
that's interesting. Okay.
It's just the way it happens sometimes. We're getting a new press this year, which I'm really excited about, and that'll help us really fine tune the color. Like far, that's fabulous. We've been basically prisoners of what was going to come either way. So I don't know.
Well, and that's one of the fun things about actually going to the winery is that you get to taste the wine and hear the story and say, oh, well, it doesn't matter to me that it's a little bit darker this year. It tastes fantastic. And you get that background. And that's why I feel like a lot of people miss that component when they aren't going to wineries. And these days, you could throw a rock and hit one. Please don't throw rocks.
Yeah, don't hit one with your rock, man. What are you doing? What are you thinking?
That's so rude. All right, so the tasting notes. So smell, composition. What do you?
So to me, there's similar. I get a little more sweetness off of the newer one. To me, it smells a little more. I want to say like it's a lot of these same flavors, but a little more carameled. I don't know. You know what I mean? Just a hint of sweetness and maybe a hint of oxidation. Honestly, would cause that. I don't know what causes that, but it just smells sweeter so far, fruitier. Maybe it smells fruitier or whatever. So I would think, not having tasted this one yet, I would think that this is going to taste a little sweeter, but maybe it won't. And maybe it'll be a little bigger. I don't know.
It feels a little bigger in the mouth.
A little more mouthfeel. Yeah.
The previous one has more florals and citrus.
Okay.
To me. Which again, it's up to you. What do you smell? What are you getting? What do you taste? Just because we smell and taste something doesn't mean that you're wrong in your experience of the wine, or that we are right and you should look for what we're finding in a wine. It's to each their own.
Exactly.
Yeah, it definitely seems like more fruit, more cherry. And I
think all these flavors are in here, but there's more of fruity aspects, so that dominates the.
Honestly,
but that'll drop out.
Yeah.
That'll drop a little.
I feel like as it ages in the bottle, it's going to really, really change. 2020, brand new bottling. It is going to be such a different wine.
We bottled
so I'm going to have to keep opening it and trying it and trying it and trying it.
We bottled the 2020 a month ago, so it's still a little rocky.
Mm-hmm.
It's
moving through some
stuff. Yeah.
But even as it opens, if I had been thinking, I would have decanted it.
There's some bottle shock that happens, as we've said before, but when you bottle a wine, it's a lot of jostling of it, and it doesn't it's the introduction of oxygen, but it's also just everything about getting bottled, and it just takes a second to settle into its own. And ideally you wait 6 months, but 4 to 6 weeks, it's pretty much out of its thing. This is nearing the end of that, but it's still in it a little bit. I can taste it. You notice it a little more on a white than a red, because they're so more delicate,
Yeah, absolutely. And I always like to talk about that bottle shock as it's been with its family, and then it's separated and put into a new environment, kind of like when your kid goes off to college. And if you think back to your first days in the dorm, getting used to everything and what that was like, we were all homesick.
Took a couple weeks to come into your own, right?
Yeah, and to feel comfortable in that new setting. And that's really what is happening with a bottle of wine. And so the longer you can leave it alone before you let it come back home, so to speak, the better it gets. And the more confident it is when it gets to your glass.
Confident.
All right, we have some great questions for you this week. If you have more questions about the rosés or rosé in general, feel free to message us, and we can either answer them live, or we can email you back too. So depending on what you'd like to see. Our questions this week are wacky wine questions, and it's funny. I always we've had a couple of segments that are like wacky or wild, or and these questions are so great. I never actually think that they're that wacky. I think they're so inventive. So let's get started. The first one is, how do you describe a well-made wine? Like, how do you actually describe it in wine terms? I thought this was an excellent question.
God, I love that question.
Right?
Because there are ways that people describe a wine, and I'm like, oh, that wine's bullshit. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that ain't going to be,
I was just doing some research about some unusual winemaking areas, and I was going through winery websites and looking at how they described it, and I was like, oh, you had a problem with your fermentation, didn't you?
Right.
And you're like, this is a unique...
There's some for sure no-nos, and I can't really think of what those are.
I know, I can't either.
But, gosh. But I don't... There's... all the usual boring-ass crap that you hear, like, ass crap. Oh, that sounds horrible. No, all the usual boring stuff that, it's better balanced acidity and blah, like we say all those things, and it's super boring, and it means mostly nothing to a lot of people, but that's the way you describe, like, the way it should be, maybe, right?
I also think there's an interesting thing that happens when somebody... the way they describe it, not necessarily the words they're using, but the focus and attention that they draw to the glass, where I think I've even seen this in a couple of movies where they make fun of the character for doing this. Like, you stop everything, the conversation halts, because this annoying wine geek is fascinated with the wine, and well, that's definitely us.
They're like, oh, it comes in with a little bit of pomegranate at the back, and It's like, oh my God.
Wait. Can everyone be
Hold on.
quiet?
Shut up. I have to listen. I have to listen. I have to smell the. Hold on.
I do like.
Yeah.
I have to listen. I have to listen with my nose.
Watch. Smell.
Oh, do you smell this? Are you
New
getting
Mexicoism. No, I don't know. Yeah. So there is validity to that, but it sucks when somebody that's can probably put 20 descriptors to this wine does that in front of a bunch of people that are like, smells good, I like it. You know, like they don't want to hear 20 descriptors. Give them 2.
Okay.
And then that's it. You know, they don't need more of that. It's like, kind of like strawberries, great, you know?
Right? But I think the base, what they're trying to get at is like...
Yeah, this is a different question.
I feel like this is a really good wine. How would I say that? I think that's kind of what they're trying to say, is without all the fancy terminology, how would I say, you know, damn, this is good.
All right. Then,
but
so to me, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is more your realm of expertise. But to me, I would say, if you say a wine is super well balanced, and then describe the overarching characteristics, which we describe as like the acidity, the tannins, and then the fruit or herbal components of it. And so if we kind of have like 3 to 4 things, those 3 to 4 things being like, it's, you know, it's got decent acidity, not too many tannins, or awesome grippy tannins or whatever, and then some of my tasting notes would be like some strawberries and blah blah blah, whatever, you know, like. But the strawberries is not part of the official description. Right. That's up to me as the taster. It may not be her truth. Yeah. Right. So it might be strawberries. So that's almost uninteresting.
Well, I do think that there's some amount, like,
almost
just to like
not informative in a way.
Yeah, I think there's some amount of what you're saying too. You know, if you were, you know, just blown away. Often people are blown away by our Cabernet Sauvignon, especially people from California, where it's really kind of the grape of Napa, and they come in already with an idea of this is not going to match up or even carry itself. And then they smell and taste it and enjoy it and are wowed. And I think that one of those things that often is a characteristic, you often are getting coffee grounds in a classic Bordeaux that's very young. And so if they say, oh, wait, I'm getting, you know, it's matured past coffee grounds, where you wouldn't expect a little place in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico to have a matured Cabernet. And in that context, it would be actually a real highlight, but you would have to know what they were talking about. But
for most people, that's not even, I mean, our staff wouldn't even pick up on that, because most people aren't as geeky as we are, right? As geeky as some people love to get. And I love geeks, but I also want to make it accessible for everyone else. Totally. So I kind of think, like, you know, a couple things, you know, and you just say, this is a balanced wine, and here's my...
You could also say, I am very impressed by this wine.
I feel like the quality's there.
Use
I feel
it
like
as an I statement.
Right. I feel like there's 0 flaws. I feel like this is a very well-made wine. I think if you just say, this is a well-made wine, and I can tell, that's the descriptor, like, right there. And then you can... It
seems more mature or more finessed than a lot of...
I can't believe this is only a 2018 and it's already showing such... maturity and you know, those are the kind of descriptors that are going to tell signify quality. All right, sorry, stop.
It's so one question
boring.
In.
So boring.
God,
come on,
yappy. Get back in the kitchen.
I had a glass of wine before, and I always used to, but now 1 glass of wine means something. I'm 2.5 in at this point.
All right. So second question. Can I request guests bring a specific wine to dinner? Second part, what about asking for them to spend a specific amount? Touchy, right?
I think
I have been in this I've been in this situation before too, because One, it makes the people that are coming very uncomfortable to come to our house because we own a winery. They have actually bought our own wine to give to us, which feels very uncomfortable. We want to open wine for you and spoil you. If you bring something, please bring something else.
I think people have more often not brought wine to dinner when they normally would have
because they're afraid of that.
I'm like, please bring wine.
Yeah. Anymore, we actually, when people say, "Can I bring anything?" It's like, bring a bottle of wine, and
they're like, "Oh crap."
Yeah, but I think that that's something that you can finesse, and you can say absolutely. I think it just definitely depends on if these are close friends of yours or not. But you can definitely say, it would be beautiful if you could bring a bottle of, and then you can get more specific, and that kind of puts you into price points. Like if you want a Sauvignon Blanc, you could say, could you bring a Sancerre, which is usually a little more expensive from France.
But you got to read your audience too, because
you don't want to scare people from coming over to your house.
Even if they could afford it, but they never spend $40 a bottle on a wine or $30 a bottle on a wine. Actually, you should probably never mandate that somebody brings something more than
$20. $20 is, and if they want to spend more, then great.
If you can't find it for 20, 25 at the, that's probably your upper limit. But also, it depends. Like, are they? If they can't afford more than 15, you got to give them an option that they don't feel bad.
Yes.
Only spending 15 on, that might be a stretch for somebody. That's all.
Yeah. I think that's generally speaking, if somebody's welcome. Let's try that again. Take two. If somebody is welcoming you to their home and it's a sit-down formal meal, I think a $20 bottle, 20 to 30 is appropriate. If it's more casual, I also like to throw in, if you guys have a favorite bottle of wine, whatever that might be, one that gives them an out if they don't like what we're serving.
Yeah.
Because then you can open that too, and that they like it. You can also say, hey, I don't have any beer, but if you guys want to have a beer or two, please bring a 6-pack of that.
We've done that a lot. If we know that one person's not a wine person at all, and they're but they totally dig on their whatever Heineken or whatever. Yeah, bring some beer. We don't have any,
Yeah, and I definitely also think that if you are among a group of wine geeks, again, you can say, hey, I'm having a dinner party. I'd like you to attend. You want to do this on the front end, though. Right. And I'm asking everyone to bring a bottle of wine in the $35 to $45 range.
Or
we're doing a tasting.
We're doing this certain meal. I've got one bottle of this, but I think we need two. If you could buy something that's in the Sangiovese from Italy kind of range, that'd be awesome. You can get specific like that.
Yeah. And then you can dictate pricing that way. But
a little bit.
If you're just having like pizza and wine and you just happen to like expensive wine, I don't think you can say, hey, I ordered Domino's. Can you bring a Brunello?
So yes and no.
Yeah. So hopefully that helped. I don't know. The next one, is the glass half full or is it half empty? I love this. It's so funny.
Is it? And that's the whole question?
That's it. In your life, is the glass
is absolutely half full. Everything. A wine glass is only supposed to be half full. I think that's exactly...
Half full is full.
Half full is full.
Oh, I like that.
There's plenty more.
Get that tattooed on your arm, babe.
Right? You're going to use up what you got going on in here. But also...
What you got going on?
but and then as you go, you're going to keep on filling it, right? So it's going to vary somewhere around half full. That's the way it's supposed to be. Life is half full. There's good stuff out there. If you look at it, it has a half empty. Yeah, of course it's half empty, but it's also half full. You need goals.
Oh, I like that. And seeing the other half of the glass as your goals.
It's what you're going to end up doing. Is the rest of it.
Yeah. That's good.
What do you think?
I think what you think.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked your answer a lot, and I don't have one, so I'm going to copy off your page. All right. I've been a little pessimistic. A little angry,
It's
angry little
it's
Aquarian.
easy to get in that rut, and it's rough. I mean,
Plus, I haven't been drinking, so I feel like my glass is always empty. So we're gonna stick with Jesse's lovely interpretation. You should write little Zen poems, babe. Okay.
what did your family calls me?
I don't think.
No, we can do this. All right, so
We have more questions.
We're not supposed to say this, but I'm not a religious guy whatsoever, right? And so
I hate that this is live sometimes.
and so
Spit it out, sir.
but over time, people around me have been or haven't been or whatever, and they called
Grasshopper.
Oh, grasshopper say, and so
That is
so that
so
we had
inappropriate.
Michelle's mom was
Oh my God! Don't name who said it.
decently Buddhist, at least decently Buddhist, right? And so
Mom, I'm sorry. I
when
can't
we
take
met-
him anywhere.
When we met, we were all talking Buddhism and this and that, and I vocally, like a young jerk, kind of put out my, I disagree with religion or whatever, right? I'm less
It's
militant
bullshit.
anymore. You soften with age. Hopefully, I'm less militant. Anyway. Anyway, I became grasshopper.
Because then he also has beautiful things to say, like your goals are in the upper, echelon of a glass, and all these lovely little sayings. And then he also does these things like he goes surfing, and then all these dolphins are jumping around him, and you can see him out there on a surfboard. All these dolphins are jumping out of the water. It's like a Bellagio show, and you're like, what the hell? And so it's very, Anyway, okay, so moving on. My mom's going to kill you.
Hi, Angela. I'm sorry.
So the next one. What is your favorite wine scene in a movie? Do you have a favorite wine scene in a movie? I have one.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. It's not a great wine scene, but it's one that
It's going to be the one I was going to pick, too.
Oh, I doubt it.
Okay,
I mimic
right.
all the time. So Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. Is this the one that
No,
you were
it's
going
not.
to do, babe?
I was not going to do Pretty Woman, if you believe it. What?
Okay, so she's gone to Richard Gere's penthouse. I assume everybody's seen this movie. If you haven't, what is wrong with you? And so he pours a glass of champagne, and she, guzzles a bunch of it. She's like, I love that hand gesture. Yeah. And then he's like, offers her a strawberry, and she's like, what? He's like, it brings out some of the aromas and flavors of the champagne. And she's like, oh, groovy. And this whole exchange happens around a really expensive bottle of champagne. I love it. I love to mimic it. So I often will, drink something and be like, and then be like, groovy. I don't know. It sank in.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's in there deep. What about you?
This is not a happy moment in a movie, unfortunately, but I love the ironicness of Sideways when he's drinking his Chevelle 64 or whatever.
I thought you were going to say when he, did the whole
Oh,
dump
well,
bucket.
there's the dump bucket scene too, which is awesome and just disgusting and horrible. But I don't know. I like that it was
at the end.
He's drinking Merlot, and it's the best wine he's ever had, and he's drinking it out of a big
styrofoam
cup in a fast food restaurant. It's like
the wine he's been saving forever, talking shit about Merlot the whole time.
it's so sad, but it's also like
poignant.
It's poignant because he's drinking Merlot, and he didn't even they didn't even reveal that, but that was
a wine geeky moment. Thank you for the wine geeks that Cheers, that's beautiful. I like it. Oh, see? Another very zen moment. We should do a whole episode of Jesse's zen moments. All right, we got to hurry up. How do I ask someone to slow down when I pour a very special bottle of wine? One of my friends and my boyfriend drink wine like it's shots.
They're beer drinkers.
And then they complain that I am controlling. I love that because I'm often discussed as my controlling issues. When I comment that the wine is expensive and they should drink it slower.
slow down and enjoy life. What the heck, guys? No, it's so hard, right? I mean, and
I've encountered this a lot.
Here's the problem: is you get super drunk on tequila or whiskey or gin or whatever your vodka drinks. You get all wasted because you're used to drinking wine. You're used to drinking 5 ounces, and your booze drink that's 1.5 ounces. You're supposed to drink that in the same amount of time. Same thing as a 12-ounce beer. So if you're sitting there and you're used to drinking 12 ounces in 30 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever your rate of consumption is, it's the same. They should slow down by more than half in order to drink the same amount of alcohol the same time.
To match a beer.
So
but
beer
they said
drinkers,
like shots. That sounds like slugging it.
Well, beer drinkers drink like 2 or 3 ounces in 1 ounce. Or maybe it's even only just 1 ounce at a time, but that's like 12 gulps. It takes them, then they wait a few minutes and they do another. Mm-hmm. So the same thing, if they're used to consuming the liquid at that fast. I don't know how to get people to slow down. It's hard. They probably end up too drunk. Off of the same amount of time. They're like, man, that hit me hard. That's why I got a headache. That's part of the wine headache thing. They're beer drinkers.
That's
drinking
a great point.
wine at a beer pace. They get too drunk and then therefore have too much of a hangover. Also, every hangover is different from different alcohols. But
I think
so it feels more offensive to the non...
Right. So as a controlling person talking to another controlling person, evidently, I recommend that you pour the glasses, and with an expensive bottle, you pour smaller. So most people actually think you are being extremely stingy. And then I recommend that you put the bottle aside.
Or keep it near you.
Yeah, because the whole, if they can grab it and pour, and then they pour up to the top. Same people are the ones that pour up to the top too.
Right.
And if you're one of those people and you're sitting at home and going, "Oh, whoops,"
no, that's me.
It's okay if it's your cheap wines or whatever. But if somebody's sharing something really special, they poured a small amount so that everybody could have a chance to taste it and then enjoy it and then have another taste. But it's done as a ritual. It's done as a really special moment. It's a connecting thing. You
want to do it together. So you kind of wait until more people are getting towards really empty.
Yes.
You're going to have the one person that still has a full glass, but you pour everyone the same amount with an empty glass. You pour everyone the same amount, then you go back
and top up.
Basically, some people will be drinking faster or slower, but somebody might sit there with an empty glass for 10 minutes while the rest of people catch up, lowering their glass. And then once it's getting close, you say, okay, one more round, everyone gets another shot or two, and then we'll move on to the next wine. That's a pretty easy way. We do that. We try to serve everyone the same amount of glasses.
It's hard though. There are just people that just drink it fast. They don't care. They're not savoring it, and you have to choose if you really want to open a bottle of wine with those people. Is the other thing.
And if you do, you got to get good with. They're gonna have a little more.
Yeah,
and not care as much.
Yeah. Otherwise, you have to really craft who do you really want to open these special bottles with. And so I usually, I'll announce if I'm going to open something really special. I'll say, I am really excited to share this. It's a very special bottle. And let me tell you the story. And then people are like, shh, no. All right.
And then you let everyone taste it, and then you let it go.
Yeah.
And you move on to the next one.
You got to have
fun.
Fine.
Yeah,
you got to have fun because, if you're...
Everyone does deserve to try it, though.
Out, yeah.
Everyone should try it, even the person who's not going to give them a shot at trying it. And
it's building up their palate.
Exactly, and they'll be they'll know this, and it'll be part of their reservoir for next time, maybe. Mm-hmm. But
it's important that they have, they might say, "Oh, that's not to my liking."
And then you can let go and enjoy the situation. Yeah. Enjoy your time with your wine.
You don't want it to ruin your experience with the special wine. And that's key for us controlling people. It cannot ruin your time.
No.
All right, moving on. Final question. At what age did you guys let your kids try wine for the first time? So do you happen to know? I meant to message Lily and Chris. And I
don't know them. That's right.